same city, that would be the best constitution for you. Ideal constitution for you. So the particular becomes universalized in that category. You'll see in a second. He's not saying that, oh, there is no just government. He says there is just government, but that's relative to the situation. So justice exists, and we'll talk about this in a second. But that, to answer your question, no. Aristotle would not say that whatever is taking place in Libya is relative and true to their standard or to their situation. You'll see that he's going to show you why. But he's going to give you a category, and he's going to give you room to maneuver here. And I'll talk about this in a second. So yeah, that's a good question. I'll get back to it, because I hope to give you, maybe that's not a bad idea apropos of what you said, to try to give you, I teach this Western political thought at our college, and their second paper was due, and I just had finished, I had finished Machiavelli and Hobbes. No, I finished St. Augustine and Machiavelli. So their third paper was one-page paper. It's one-page single-space paper they are supposed to write. And the paper topic was, how would St. Augustine assess the situation in Libya, and what would Machiavelli say to the same? So I'm going to do a reversal on you. I'm going to say tonight, toward the end, 10 minutes, I'm going to discuss what would Plato say about Libya, and how would Aristotle assess the situation in Libya. That may be a good idea. That's good. So you can see how different they are. So that's the dilemma. In other words, now if you want to talk about politics, then we need to take into account all of these causes. What are they made of? How is it done? What is it for? But Aristotle is very matter-of-factual, and Aristotle prides himself in being a man of science. There are hardly any topic that you can even approach today that doesn't go back to Aristotle as a scientist, as an astronomer, as a logician, as a mathematician, as a biologist, as a botanist, as a constitutional authority. He has a complete philosophy, and he goes much beyond Plato in this respect, that he has an entire system of logic, syllogism, as you know, syllogistic logic, that is totally, unbelievably important for mathematicians and for logicians to talk about the veracity, the truth value of statements. So these are his contribution. I think that many circles, when they said the teacher, they mean only one teacher, and they mean Aristotle. When they say the teacher, and therefore so his value for his contribution is tremendous in every field. But I want to concentrate on his ethical and political views tonight, so you see how it's relevant to our predicament and to the question of political discourse. Both Plato and Aristotle talk about nature, or natural law, or natural philosophy, or what comes by nature. The question they ask, what is the nature of man? What is the nature of man? Because, see, remember we talked about two key concepts in Aristotle, the concept of potentiality and actuality. Do you remember? That what is potentially possible and what is actually exists. Now, in man, in order to be able to assess, in human beings, to assess what we can do, and then the question becomes, how are we different than, for example, animals? How are we different than vegetation? How are we different than inanimate objects? How are you supposed to separate them? And what is it that makes it uniquely human? In other words, what is the nature of man that is totally unique? Because if you say, well, it's our senses, our desires, that's here. If you say it's growth, well, you have it here too. If you say that we reproduce, then you have it here. What is it that's totally unique to man, which constitutes his nature? And the answer is, for Aristotle, the same. It's logos. Logos has, again, two functions. In Arabic, I think they got it right. We don't translate it correctly, but the Arabic language Notre, or when you say it's both, or mantek, you see, notre and mantek are the same. It's both logic and speech. It constitutes both speech and logic. So logos, if this is what separates us from other forms of being, then whatever is good or whatever is natural to man has to be related to these two: language, speech, speaking, and logic, reason. So if you think about it, the two things that distinguish us is logos, which constitute both reason and speech. Now here is the kicker in terms of politics. This speech, in essence, means that we are social animals, because speech is designed for communication. What do you communicate with? With the other, not with the self. Speech is a form of communication. Therefore, his assessment is that, well, what distinguishes human beings from other forms of life has to be this unique ability of reason and speech. Therefore, it has to be that we are a social, political animal. We have to be. Now, why? Because in order to fulfill our potentials, and everyone has the potential for reason and speech, that means that actually you have to do it only in a community. In other words, the polis is the center of the universe for Aristotle in terms of human beings. He says only gods and beasts live outside the city. Everyone else is within the city. In other words, not only you live within the city, but your fulfillment of the entire, notice the logic, the fulfillment of, in other words, you can fulfill your potentiality only and only within the confines of the city. Why? Because it's only within the confines of the city that you come in contact with others, and you can communicate, and you can reach your potential as a human being that is true to its nature, true to our form. Yes?
Can you repeat that again? Inside the city, humans reach their true nature.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the logic, can we go? Wait, yeah. Wait.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Okay. I'll answer you in a second. We're trying to get the segments 20 minutes so we can upload it easier.
Yeah.
And so we can have access. So I was told that we can pause a little bit.
Let's cut down.